Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for TGI Sports Talk. Jack and Keith weekend Playbook. And if we got a lot to talk about today with the NCAA tournament, starting off with some interesting results yesterday. I introduced my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and all-around sports guru, Jack Hirsch. How are you this morning, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith. A lot to open up today with a lot of packages, and sports is a package. We got a lot of mail today.
We do have a lot of mail, and I got to tell you, I am worn out because I watched college basketball from about 11:50 yesterday until 1 o'clock this morning. So it was.
You got to relax, Keith. Keith, you know who you remind me of? A-Rod. When he talked about baseball, he went over Jeter's place. And he was turning the channel and asking Jeter, "You have the baseball package?" And Jeter says, "We relax when we're away from the ballpark. No baseball." You got to chill out a little, Keith. I mean, take a half hour between games, unwind.
I do take some.
I mean, how does your wife feel? You're eating dinner in front of the TV set.
Well, she understands that this is, like Christmas around the house. So she gets it. I get up and go to the bathroom. I don't just sit there with a bag. Good morning, Lop. How are you? Good to have you with us. I'm trying to remember who the heck. I'm sorry. I apologize, but I'm trying to remember who the heck this is. You're doing a weekly roundtable podcast. I know who this is, but people change names on me, and I don't know who it is. But good morning, Lop. Good to have you with us. And if you want to put a little something up about your show, we'll post it. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. How are you? On to the games. Yesterday was a very interesting game, Jack. I know you didn't watch as much as I watched. And I did take a break for the news, by the way, and some other stuff. I got to keep up on the world. So the game I want to start with, number one, Duke. Oh, it's Paul. Good morning, Paul. Jeez, how are you?
Okay, let's make an agreement. Everyone who comes on, stop in mid-sentence and greet them.
I will do that.
You're a gentleman, Keith, like me.
I had to know who that was, so it was driving me nuts. Guys come in with all these different screen names, and they're trying to gaslight me. Anyway, let's start with number one, Duke. Gets pushed. Local favorite here. Siena College is only about 15 minutes away from me. Have a lot of friends who graduated from there. Got a very strong following. Nobody gave them a chance yesterday. They were a little upset with their 16 seed. They thought they were better than that. But they get the best team, the number one ranked team in the tournament in Duke, and they gave them everything they could handle. They were up 13 in the second half here, up 5 still with about 6 minutes left. But they ran out of gas. Siena, to stay with them, really had to play their top 5 guys the entire game. Jerry McNamara, who's done a great job here, rode his best horses. And those kids, I'm telling you, I have never seen, well, I shouldn't say never. I've really seen kids just give all they have. They were all running on fumes by the end. And this is either a wake-up call for Duke or, to use your word that you mentioned before we started, a red flag for Duke. With their injuries and whatnot, or again, as I said, it could be a wake-up call. The Boozer brothers played pretty well towards the end of that game, but Siena gave them everything they could handle. They could not get fast break points. They weren't getting second chance points. And John Shire even admitted he was out-coached by Jerry McNamara yesterday. I don't know how much of this.
Well, John Shire is being a gentleman. It's easy to say you are coached when you win the game. I mean, like Rick Pitino, when he coaches against his son, he's always saying he got out-coached, and his staff got out-coached by his son and his son's staff. You do that. Siena was fired up for this game. Duke wasn't. For them, it was the opening act. And, you save your energy as a team. And I understand, we've argued this point. A team can't be sky high for every game. You just can't. Not when you're a strong team and you're favored to win games, okay? And you're favored to go deep in the tournament, as a lot of people are picking Duke to go, and on Duke's reputation. And who was Siena? Siena was like a no one. They were slipping under the radar. They were supposed to be just a tune-up for Duke, and they were fired up. They laid it all on the line. Siena was playing this from beginning to end like it was the fourth period of a championship game. And for Duke, it was just basically pacing themselves. But Duke found themselves down 11 points at the half. And you were wondering, could this happen? Could Siena actually win this game? But at the end, class, told Duke took over. Siena kind of ran out of steam towards the end of the game because the emotions wear off in the second half to a point.
Well, the
And Duke
emotions
took
wear off
over
when
and
you.
won. And is it a red flag? I think it is a red flag with Duke. Duke isn't the type of team that's going to win on talent alone. And I think it might start catching up to him as early as next game.
I think they missed Caleb Foster a lot
They
yesterday.
do. We
That's
know
probably a
that.
big miss.
They've
And
been missing Caleb Foster. I mean, they played close games, towards the end of the year without Caleb Foster.
they did.
But you have to learn to adjust without him.
And again, Josh Hart did a good job. He kept his team calm, and they come back and win this game. A lot, we talk about this. It isn't beyond the realm of possibility anymore that these 16s can beat a 1. When you get off to bad starts like Duke did yesterday for basically 30 minutes, I mean, they didn't get it kicking into gear until 10 minutes left in the game, really. They kept themselves from getting blown out early in the second half because Siena still had that energy left, that same energy level they had in the first half. But having to play 5 guys really, really, really hurt this Siena team.
Well, they didn't pull ahead till about 5 minutes were left in the game. But you wonder what was going through their head at halftime when they were down 11. At that point, they maybe realized they had to step on the gas, that they could actually lose the game. I'm sure when they showed up to the arena, the thought was, they're just playing this game out. They're going to win the game, and it's on to the next game. I think it took a fired-up Siena team to put the realization in Duke's head that they could actually lose, if they didn't step it up in the second half. But to Duke's credit, they did step it up in the second half. They took care of business. And is this going to help them going forward? On one end, you could say it's going to show them you can't take anything for granted. But then anyone that's going to play in the tournament going forward has already had a degree of success. And the elite teams are only the elite teams are going to advance unless there's a Cinderella story that keeps taking it through. Like High Point, who you picked to win on an upset, Keith.
I did.
Kudos to you.
I did. High Point played very well. Another game. This is a team that really pushed the ball. They scored in the 90s. They got to 83, I think, yesterday. Wisconsin in this game kept looking like they were going to pull away. They get ahead by 8, and then High Point they played good defense. They get second chance points. They're well coached. I don't think they're going to win another game. I have them losing in the second round, quite frankly. But it played very well. And these are teams that, and I said on my college sports show Wednesday that I think Cinderella, as we used to know it, is kind of dead because of the rules in college basketball, college sports, with NIL and unlimited movement. I think the true Cinderellas are dead. You're not going to see guys make runs to the Final Four and the Elite 8, but they're not dead in the first round. And
well, that's it, Keith. How you define a Cinderella team? Yeah. If you win one game on a massive upset and then lose the next game, does that make you a Cinderella team? A Cinderella team takes a run to the Final Four, at the very least the Elite 8, at the very least the Elite 8. But to win one game, even 2 games, and let's say they go to the Sweet 16, it's not quite a Cinderella story. But for some of these teams, Keith, even a team like Nebraska, just winning one game in the tournament is a big deal because Nebraska had never won in the NCAA basketball tournament before. So to do what they did, winning a game, even if they get eliminated the next game, they feel they've had a representative tournament.
I'm not, again, that one I don't know if I agree with because Nebraska's had a really good year and led the Big Ten for a lot of the season. This is the best basketball team Nebraska's probably ever had. And I'm not sure winning this first game is going to be enough for them. The other teams we've talked about, absolutely. But
No. But to add on to what Nebraska did during the regular season, they won an NCAA game. So if you look at their whole season, it's going to be tremendously successful no matter what happens in the next game if they should lose it. If they didn't have as strong a regular season as they had, it was the one NCAA victory, as impactful as it would be, wouldn't be as big.
That's fair. And they did win by 29 over Hawaii yesterday. So they got business. They took care of business and nobody other than Siena. None of the top 3 seeds that played yesterday really got pushed. Gonzaga a little bit last night late. They got pushed early in the second half by Kennesaw State, but I never did. I think
it was a tease yesterday with Gonzaga. They were never really threatened.
No,
but they didn't put the game. They didn't absolutely put the game away the way they should have, as early as they should have.
My champion, by the way, the Gonzaga Zags. So we need.
Everyone picks Gonzaga every year, to do something.
Let's just go down the games quick. We talked about Duke and Siena. Michigan, who I think is the second number 1 seed in this tournament, took care of Howard by 21. Not a big surprise, but kudos to Howard. They did, and again, I guess this is another thing that kind of irks me a little bit. The first 4 we count as tournament games. So Howard technically got their first tournament win ever on Tuesday night when they won in the first 4. That's what I
don't like. The college version of the play-in. I really don't like it because every team, once this tournament begins, I don't want to hear a playoff, who's eligible for the NCAA. They're part of the tournament.
I agree.
So it's an extension of the tournament. You know what it is? It's like plugging something in and using an extra long cord. It's the same thing. It
is an extra long cord, and you count them as tournament wins. So not technically.
Yeah, to me, anyway,
kudos to Howard for getting their first win on Tuesday night, but their reward was Michigan yesterday, and Michigan's going to be a tough out in this tournament. They are really.
If you wonder with these kids from the smaller schools who don't have a true NCAA history, what it means to them to be on the court against a powerhouse team. They've got to be in awe, despite all their talk. And they're playing their hearts out because it's a big deal for them just to be there. And, I watched a little of the game yesterday with Howard, and the kids were playing hard. They were enthusiastic, even when they were down, which they were for most of the game by a big margin. They were playing at 100%.
It is a throw for a lot of these guys, but again, you got to remember too. Some with the transfer portal, a lot of these kids, even at the smaller schools, have played in the NCAA tournament at bigger schools. Fran McCaffrey, who lost last night as coaching Penn, he's got a couple of kids that played for him at Iowa on the Penn team. So they played in NCAA tournaments or on big stages. So it's such a different landscape. But you're not wrong. For a lot of these kids, that is.
You mentioned transfer portal. A star player for one of the smallest schools that gets eliminated early. Do you think the bigger schools are scouting him to a sense, see how he performs in an NCAA game and tries to get him in the transfer portal down the line?
Yeah, I do. I think they're scouting coaches. I think they're scouting players. It was interesting that what game was it? The Georgetown AD was at the VCU North Carolina game yesterday. So there's some eyebrows being raised there. Is he scouting players or is he scouting the coaches?
Well, maybe scouting the losing coach Hubert Davis to come to Georgetown.
I think he's scouting Phil Martelli Jr. from VCU, who's one of the rising coaches in college basketball. Did a great job. Has done a great job. They're still alive. I've got them winning one more game, by the way. I haven't beaten Illinois in the next round.
No, I mentioned Hubert Davis. You haven't gotten to that game yet. Is he going to keep his job after yesterday? North Carolina blown, a 19-point lead?
Yep. They're the biggest lead they've ever blown in the NCAA tournament. They were in control of this game, totally in control of this game, and I had this down as a loss. And the next time I flip back, they're tied at 75. And they don't score a point in overtime. This is bad. And Hubert Davis has never been fully accepted by the fan base there. He got off to he didn't have a great year his first year, but he had a magical run through the ACC tournament and the NCAA tournament and got to the Final Four.
Yeah.
But he struggled. He hasn't been terrible, but he also hasn't been North Carolina good. and they were calling for him to get fired last year. This is going to ramp that up a lot, I think. And Hubert Davis may have a hard time keeping his job.
You know, at other big schools, he'd have a better chance of continuing as coach. But North Carolina, because of their storied past and the expectations, I don't see him surviving. It's the manner in which they lost, losing the opening game of the tournament and blowing a big lead like this. I'd be surprised if he comes back as coach next year.
Danny agrees with us, and I've said a lot. I've said from the beginning I wasn't crazy about the hire, and I think one thing that Hubert Davis really hurts Hubert Davis is the fact that he and John Shire took over two storied programs at the same time, and John Shire's had so much more success keeping his program up at a high level, and Hubert Davis has struggled to do so.
John Shire was Coach K's hand-picked successor.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you have Coach K's full support, that got him off to a good start.
Well, you don't think Williams had Roy Williams had?
Yeah, it does. But Roy Williams obviously has a ton of clout at North Carolina, but you can only carry it so far. And I don't think it's quite as much clout as Coach K at Duke, even though you could argue it's close.
That's fair. We're going to leave off here. So Houston, 2-seed Houston plays 15-seed Idaho. Nothing was ever really in doubt here. Houston was tuning up for the next round. Well, listen, I expect this team to get to the Elite Eight and lose eventually to Florida.
There were always high expectations for Houston year after year.
With good reason. Kelvin Davis has done Kelvin Sampson, has done a great job there. Rebuilding this Houston program was nowhere. This was a great program in the 60s and 70s and 80s, and it really had fallen on hard times till Kelvin Sampson got there, and he's done a great job. He's had him in the Final Four 3 of the last 4 years, in the final last year, and this is a good question. A lot of people rooting this year, and I hear coaches say they're rooting for Kelvin Sampson. But Kelvin Sampson is one of the faces of what was wrong with college basketball. Everything he did and got in trouble for at Indiana probably would not be looked on the same way today because of the rules, and we see that. I mean, should the coaches get passes because of previous transgressions? Wouldn't be even
Wait.
out today.
Look at John Calipari at Arkansas. He was universally condemned for the way he did things, in the other schools. And now everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's doing the same thing. I mean, he was raked over the coals, at UMass with Marcus Camby with what went on, even though it might not have been Calipari's fault at all. And what Marcus Camby did, what doesn't look so bad on reflection. Well, it depends if you win. If you win, you get away with things. You can be a lightning rod if you win. I mean, with Bobby Knight, all those years at Indiana, they were winning. So you could get away with it. If you're in a smaller program and you're not winning, you can't get away with it.
Those are different issues, though, with Knight and Calipari, right? Here's the thing. Programs don't get back national championships, Final Four banners that were taken away from them. UMass had that all stripped away. They didn't get any of that. Let me finish. But Reggie Bush got back his Heisman Trophy. He got back his Heisman Trophy at USC because the rules had changed. But the coaches don't get their reputations, and the schools don't get back losses or wins that were taken away from them.
Well,
I think it's a hypocrisy.
They should. If you win the game on the court, it should be recorded as such. And to take it away on certain technicalities off the court, off the field.
But once they do it, if they change the rules, I don't agree. See, look, if we had rules that say you're going to be stripped of your title, you're going to be stripped of your wins or whatever. I mean, look at how many wins Bobby Bowden lost after the fact and never got back when the rules changed. I don't think you should get him back. I don't think the Heisman Trophy should have gone back to Reggie Bush. I always use this analogy, and we'll get back to these games in a second. I'm on a little side street here. If I'm speeding if I'm going 50 and a 30 and I get a speeding ticket and the next week they raise the speed limit to 50, I'm not getting my money back and getting the points off my license. So just because laws and rules change, I don't think that the transgressions that took place when the rules were something different should be just washed away.
Hey, Keith, we could carry this out to the extreme if you want, the way you're doing.
I just did.
It would be like a player who was suspended for substance abuse and his team won the championship that season. And because of that one player, you take away the championship. They don't do that in sports, but that's basically the same thing.
Kind of. There are things that are against rules.
Listen, certain great players aren't in the Hall of Fame.
You're talking about performance enhancing.
And there's no hard evidence they're guilty like Roger Clemens. He's a slam dunk Hall of Famer. You have to be a complete idiot if you feel Clemens isn't a Hall of Famer based on performance.
I agree.
But he's not in the Hall of Fame because of a belief that, he had a substance abuse, an edge in that regard. So if you believe that and he's not in the Hall of Fame, the Yankees shouldn't have been given credit for winning those World Series he was on the team with in 99 and 2000.
Well, there's no
rules.
rules.
What you believe. You can't have it both ways, or shouldn't at least.
Well, again, there's no rules.
I would vote for Clemens to be in the Hall of Fame for the record.
I would, as would I. All those guys should be in, and warts and all. I've said that a lot for sure. I get it. Let's move on to some of these other games. Michigan State. Again, this is a team to watch out for. I like them to get to the Elite Eight. Tom Izzo is a great coach. They have no trouble with North Dakota State yesterday, winning by 20. If I got to do math here, 25. And not much to say here. Again, just another warm-up for Michigan State. Any thoughts there?
Tom Izzo, how many years has he been coaching? Has it been
God,
like
he's been
22?
He's been there since the early 80s, so he's probably been there.
Man, I apologize. I apologize. I just threw a number out. I didn't want to embarrass myself by saying 35 years where it actually could have been 19. I didn't want to look bad. That was me getting conservative, Keith. But Tom Izzo, one of the storied coaches. I mean, even though everyone knows the name of Tom Izzo, when you talk about the great college coaches, for some reason his name doesn't quite come up because he's been consistent, not great, consistently good. But I guess in the NCAA tournament, you're looking for, championships to be in the mix a little more, in the Final Four.
It's funny. Tom Izzo's got a great reputation, a great March reputation. He's gotten deep into tournaments, many Final Fours. With all that, he's still got one championship. I'm shocked every time I see that. I always think he's won more, but he's got one.
Well, it reminds me a little of Jim Boeheim, who's now retired as the Syracuse coach. He had one championship for all the years. I think the one championship, it kind of cements your legacy in a way because they won't look back and say, well, he never won. At least you win 1 year and then everything else you did looks good. You combine it with the 1 year that you won it all. Like, DePaul had an excellent coach years ago, Ray Meyer.
Great coach.
And, but I think he only went to the Final Four once.
2 times, I think.
Yeah.
I think two times very late in his career.
Late in his career. But had he had the one championship, his rep would have even been much greater.
His very first year, he actually won a national championship with George Mikan, actually. His first year coaching DePaul. Then he didn't make it back till very late in his career.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he coached the great George Mikan.
George Mikan, what was that, 1948?
That was like your senior year in high school, I think.
Yeah. Wow, George Mikan, the first commissioner of the ABA, but the first big man in the NBA, the first truly big center in the NBA, George Mikan.
Name from the past. Illinois, number 3 Illinois, great offense here, by the way. The 105 points they scored yesterday. They played Penn, win by 35. Penn's a good story, won the Ivy League. Frank McCaffrey, who graduated from Penn, I believe, was a ex-Siena coach, Iowa coach. Good job by him this year, but he gets smacked.
I think this Illinois team might be, the basketball team might be teasing us the way the Illinois football team did. We're wondering whether they could make a run at winning it all, but something is kind of blocking it in a way. But they took care of business really easily yesterday. I mean, they were expected. Did anyone really think Penn was going to win the game?
No. But I do have Illinois losing on Saturday to VCU. I think VCU has got what it takes to get to the Sweet 16, maybe even one more game past that. We'll see. We mentioned Gonzaga struggling a bit. Again, they have trouble putting the ball in the basket, but they play really good defense, tenacious defense. They offensive rebound well, which really saved them yesterday. In the end, they win by 9 points. As you said before, it didn't feel like they were really in danger of this game, but just couldn't put them away. And that might be a red flag for later in the tournament. I've got this team winning it all under the radar, but I'm not.
Well, Kennesaw State was really fired up for this game. It seemed that, I don't want to say they were playing harder than Gonzaga because they weren't, but the body language of Kennesaw State, they took a real run at it. They played like they felt they could actually win the game, that they weren't just happy to be there, and it's kind of reflected in their performance.
What's Danny saying here? I think this he's talking to
seven different schools. Yeah. Well,
that's a lot.
Well, it shows parity in the NCAA. It's not like the days of John Wooden at UCLA. I mean, that's a distant memory. You're never going to have a dynasty in college sports again, as far as I'm concerned. It's basketball, especially. You're never going to have that dynasty again. I think that, especially with the transfer portal, that's a thing of the past.
John Wooden, it's funny. Danny brought this up to me, and I knew this already. John Wooden nearly got chased out of Westwood before he actually started winning national championships because he was there for 12 or 13 years before he ever won one.
And I'm going to tell you, John Wooden is considered basically the master or whatever. But when you have some of the talent he has, you have a young Lou Alcindor, players like that, you're going to win, Keith. I mean, coaches are very important. Don't get me wrong. They're very important. But players win games. And if you have overwhelming talent, you could still lose with it. Look, Jerry Tarkanian with UNLV, when he had great talent, as defending national champions, they didn't repeat, and they lost to a Duke team that they blew out the year before, who they were more talented than, in my opinion. And that's partly doing with, with coaching, how much have a team prepared and motivated for a game. But
UCLA had a guy named Sam Gilbert who actually had pretty deep pockets, which helped steer a lot of those guys to UCLA. That wouldn't even be looked at today as a problem, right? But it kind of got ignored. And I don't remember what Danny's opinion is on that, but
they should have a list of best alumni in college sports, meaning the deepest pockets, who attracts kids. How come we never see ratings of alumni?
Well, we do see best fan bases in college sports. I've seen.
I don't have fan base, alumni. Who cares about the fans? You and I can't convince anyone in the transfer portal.
Where some of them are, Miami of Florida's got one of the best alumni in the country, because their collective is raising more money than any program in the country.
What about Miami of Ohio? They can be the talk of this tournament. They won one game, not last night, the night before last. And if they win their next game, they're the team that's going to pick up the most momentum going forward. Miami of Ohio. Yeah.
No, I think, listen, they win. They play Tennessee today. I like Tennessee to win a couple. I think I've got them going to the Elite Eight. But they're also beatable in any one of these games, including today. You saw Wednesday night a little bit more of what Miami did all year long than what they did in the first round of that MAC tournament. They didn't play well that day. They didn't shoot well, but they played really good basketball Wednesday night. And they could give Tennessee a little trouble today and maybe even win the game, but I still have Tennessee winning this game. We'll talk a little about those games when we're done here. Where was I? Nebraska, we talked about getting their first win over Troy. Arkansas, we just talked about Calipari. He's got a really good team. This is a team a lot of people like to get a long ways in his tournament, and they get off to a good start against Hawaii yesterday. So watch out for the Razorbacks.
Yeah, they had an easy matchup with Hawaii. I mean, did anyone expect Hawaii to hold the game to single digits? I don't know what the odds were going into this game. I don't remember. But Arkansas, you know, there are a lot of people are picking them as a Final Four team.
They are. Another sleeper pick. We talked about High Point. Vanderbilt struggles for a lot of the game against McNeese. I also picked McNeese to win yesterday and win another game, so that's one place I didn't do so well. But Vanderbilt struggled against McNeese, but comes away winning by 10 points. So the SEC doesn't look too bad after day one.
Well, you mentioned the SEC. You look at the different conferences, and I kind of wonder the fairness of it, the matchups that go according to conference. Because somehow the Big East is getting a raw deal here. When you look at all the talent in the Big East, something seems to be unfair there, that the teams can't meet, you know, really in the Final Four, that it's coming down, you know, that they're meeting early in the tournament, like Duke and St. John. If St. John's wins tonight, I believe they have to meet Duke in the next game.
Kansas. They play Kansas in the second round if Kansas wins.
Kansas, I mean, but then Duke in the Sweet 16. I'm sorry.
Correct.
The Sweet 16. My apologies on that. Something seems wrong there, because I think St. John's this year under Rick Pitino is ready to take a serious run at the national title. And Duke is always ready to take and always expected to take a run at the national title. Somehow matching them up in the Sweet 16. I don't like it. I don't like it in the first couple of rounds for sure. Once you get to the Sweet 16, it's a little hard to manipulate that, especially when you're going to have 10 teams. They've always tried to keep these rules in place, as you mentioned, where you know, teams won't play, if the same conference won't play the first couple of rounds. But when you're taking from 3 leagues, you're taking, you know, 30 some teams, you're going to have matchups early. There's no way to avoid them. Well, why not do Sweet 16 according to record, a strength of schedule, however they want to do it, rather than it be automatically a conference issue? But that's just my thought. I don't want to see Duke and St. John's until it would be like at least an Elite Eight matchup.
That feels like an Elite Eight matchup. Yes, I agree. But again, they have to keep the integrity of the brackets, right? Because that's a big selling point for this tournament, is the bracket. So you can't just, you know, wait until see who gets to the Sweet 16 and then do matchups, because then you blow up your brackets. So I don't know. There's probably no great answer for that.
Yeah, well, I mentioned them, and then Connecticut too. Same thing with Connecticut. If they advance, then Connecticut win pretty easily tonight against Furman. But, you know, whether they come into the equation, but that's another issue.
Listen, watch out for Furman. They beat a number 2 Virginia here just a couple of years ago. So totally different team, of course, but we'll see how that works out. And we'll talk about that in a second, maybe. South Florida gave Louisville all they could handle yesterday. A lot of people picking South Florida to win this game as a 6 over an 11, but Louisville ends up winning. They were ahead. They were actually in control of this game, and they nearly gave it away at the end as well, similar to North Carolina, but they held out for the 4
Well, the Louisville program is overrated. Was this their first NCAA win since Rick Pitino left them?
I would say that's probably right, yes.
I mean, that was ages ago.
Well, when Kenny Payne went there, if you remember, he was a Knicks assistant coach. He was at Kentucky for a long time with Rick Pitino. Did a lot of the recruiting. That's why Louisville hired him, and they went totally in a tank. That year they won like 3 games, but they're starting to rebound and being a better team. I don't see them going much further than this. So we talked about that game. BYU Texas. BYU, this is an 11 over a 6 as well. Texas plays well after playing in the first 4. Sometimes there's an advantage in getting that game under your belt in that first 4. We've seen other teams make runs from that first 4. In fact, North Carolina did it in Hubie Davis.
Yeah, well, this game was interesting because BYU kept threatening to make a run.
They did,
and
late.
It looked like they would. It looked like Texas was faltering in the second half, but Texas would always answer with a couple of baskets when they had to.
Yeah, agreed. Real quick before no changes, just taking away from the magic of the tournament. We were talking about the brackets. And Brian only lost this BYU Texas game. Good for you, Brian. Texas A&M St. Mary's. St. Mary's disappoints me every single year in this tournament. This is a really good team out of the Western Collegiate Conference, and they never get out of the first round, it feels like. And I've always got them winning a game, sometimes two, and this is a blemish on my record because I had them beating A&M yesterday.
Yeah, well, when a 7th seed loses to a 10th seed, is it really much of an upset?
Not
you know,
really,
the
no.
number 3 seed loses to a 14, you call it a big upset. You know, you're a little shocked usually.
Yeah.
But 7 and 10, if you're going to pick upsets, those mild upsets are the popular ones to pick.
Good win for good day for the state of Texas yesterday. They had a lot of wins yesterday. TCU, Houston, Texas A&M, Texas all win. Good. TCU did beat Ohio State yesterday. This was a really good game.
Yeah, I was watching that game. That was a back and forth game.
Yeah.
Ohio State was trailing most of the game. Then they come on, they take the lead. It looks like they're going to win, and then TCU comes back on them. You know what gets me about a number of these games? I've been seeing it for years in college basketball. It drives me crazy. When the teams have a last possession the way Ohio State does, they rarely get off a good shot, it seems. The players seem to panic and just throw the ball up. And it happened with Ohio State yesterday. Yeah.
No buzzer beaters yesterday. We didn't have one buzzer beater last year in the whole tournament, which is shocking. Anyway, great win for TCU. Jamie Dixon is a really good, underrated coach. They're going to get Duke in the next round, though, so we'll see if they can push them at all. And one of the more impressive, I think, it's only a 9-8 game, but one of the more impressive wins yesterday, I think, was for St. Louis out of the A-10, scoring 102 points against Georgia from the SEC. And winning by 25 points. Really good performance by St. Louis, who just locked up their coach long term, so they won't lose him.
I'm going to tell you, of all the schools in the first round, if you look at their expectations, of all the schools that were sent home, I think the biggest bummer would be Georgetown going home the way they lost. They were never really in the game. They were completely flat. It just seemed that they weren't prepared. And it's going to be a long off season for Georgia the way they lost the game. They take nothing out of this game at all. Nothing out of it. It's not like they lost a competitive game where they were getting upset. Just a very flat performance by Georgia.
Agreed. And one other thing to take away from this first round, High Point, the coach after the game, the coach from High Point was really pumped up, obviously, you might think. And he said exactly what
you mean St. Louis?
No, I'm back to High Point real quick here. Because he made a great point after this game for the High Points, for the Miami of Ohio's, for all these mid-majors that the major conferences won't go play. He said after the game, he said, they say we can't play with these guys, but they won't let us play with them until we get to this tournament. And we showed today that we can beat anybody in the country. If that's true, I don't know, but we'll find out. But they won't play these schools.
And a school like High Point is starting to develop a reputation which can help in ensuing years. When they're on the edge of whether they should be in the tournament or not, the selectors are not going to be as dismissive of them as they may have been otherwise because, their victory here in the tournament, and depending on how far they go.
Charles Barkley.
Charles is all right. I mean, Charles is okay. He's entitled to his opinion, and So
Charles, nothing. They put him on there because he's Charles Barkley and he's got a personality.
Yeah, well,
There's nothing about the college game. Putting the NBA studio team on the NCAA tournament is kind of weird, but it seems to work for.
yeah, but listen, you want to be entertained, Keith. Come on.
You do.
mean, Barkley, he'll entertain you more than a guy who knows more, who's very flat and talking about the game. I mean, because the majority of people, listen, the majority of people watching the NCAA tournament probably know a little less than Barkley, but they want to be entertained. They're learning about the teams as they go along. I mean, you want this one intense expert. You see that all the time in the NFL. I know you love to hear them talk about nickel and dime coverages.
I don't watch pregame shows.
And move, the players around. I don't want to hear that. Talk about the nickel package, the dime package.
The only pregame show I watch is Saturday morning game day, college game day. That's all I watch. I won't watch any NFL pregame shows. They're trash in my mind. So anyway, today, some big matchups. I'll give you a couple teams I said to watch out for. I think Santa Clara beats Kentucky. We talked about it early. Kentucky way overrated, even if it's a 7 seed. I think Santa Clara out of the Western Collegiate Conference wins this and maybe helps their ranking a little bit with St. Mary's.
I'm looking at some of the games. I'm looking at some of the games today going down, and because they're from the Long Island area, Hofstra and Alabama. Now, Alabama lost their star player for this game.
Yeah, he was arrested for marijuana.
Right. I mean, you kind of wonder the impact that's going on, and with the kids on the team, you don't know how close they were. I mean, they should have enough to beat Hofstra.
They can push them a little bit, though.
You kind of wonder how Alabama's going to perform.
Watch Akron against Texas Tech. I'm telling you, Akron. Listen, we talk about Miami of Ohio. Akron had 1 loss in that conference and 2 losses all year and won the conference tournament. They're a good basketball team too, and Texas Tech is without their best player as well. So watch Akron today. I think that's a team to look out for.
Yeah, but I think
upset watch.
I think the late afternoon game on the East Coast, Miami, Ohio, and Tennessee. To me, that's the most intriguing game.
I'll definitely be tuned into that game. St. John's is playing today. They get Northern Iowa. They shouldn't have any problem, although Northern Iowa is a respectable basketball team. But St. John's.
This tournament is so unforgiving. St. John's had a great year winning the Big East. They're back in national prominence. Not that they weren't last year because Pitino took them to the tournament, but with Rick Pitino, St. John's is looking to sign him to this long-term extension. But can you imagine St. John's loses today's game? People aren't going to look at how much they're back on the Pitino. They'll think it's the same St. John's team. And Pitino, I think he was teasing us yesterday, saying he doesn't know this might be his last year coaching. He might coach 1 more year. He might coach a lot more years. He's teasing us.
Yes.
But if St. John should lose this year, man, it's going to be hard to crank it up and have a high level of enthusiasm for next year. It's going to take a while to regroup. And St. John's gets disrespected, number 1 with a number 5 seed, winning the Big East regular season and the Big East tournament. Connecticut comes away with a 2 seed. They come away with a 5, and they're playing in the East Regional, and they get shipped out west. I hate this pod system. Is stupid. There's no way they'd be shipping teams from the East to West if that's where they're playing. Look what happened yesterday. Nebraska's playing in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And they even admitted it was like a home game to them.
Yeah.
So should they have been given that advantage?
They try to stay away from those things, at least in the early rounds where they can
control, they didn't in the case of Nebraska.
I don't understand how you're playing in the East Regional and you get shipped to San Diego to play your first 2 games. I don't get it for St. John's. So anyway, they shouldn't have any trouble today. I think this UCLA-UCF game is an interesting game too. UCLA's playing good basketball, and I've got them winning a couple games in this tournament. This is a 10-7 game. That's an interesting game to watch too. At 7 o'clock tonight.
You look for a shocking upset, and only 2 games. Well, there's 3 games actually. I mean, the seeds are so far apart. that would be a shocking upset. To you, not so much Furman over Connecticut. I think to you it would just be a surprise, but you wouldn't be flabbergasted. That's the impression I get. Yeah, okay. But Florida, number 1 seed against 16th Prairie View.
That would shock me, yes. That would come my chair.
A bigger shock to me would be number 2 Purdue if they lost to number 15. Queens of what? South Carolina? I think
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah.
I swear to you, Keith, when it first came out, I thought it was Queens College, who's a city university conference school. I said, they can't be in the NCAA tournament. They're not allowed to qualify. They're not eligible. I was baffled what was going on.
The city, New York City, very well represented, though, with St. John's, LIU, Hofstra. Who am I missing? There's another team. I'm missing somebody. There's another. Oh, crap. There's another team in the tournament, too.
St. John.
I said St. John's, LIU, Hofstra, and I don't know why I'm blanking on this 4th team. I know there's 4 teams. I got LIU, I got Hofstra, I got St. John's. Who am I missing? God,
I don't think you're missing anyone.
It'll come to me. I think there's a 4th team from the New York City area.
No, LIU is up against it. They'd be up against it against anyone. I mean, LIU seems to be getting in the tournament every now and then over the years. I mean, kudos to them.
Yeah, they play very well in their conference.
They do. But they're going against Arizona, who some people are picking to win the whole thing. And the question is, I mean, can they even compete? And when I say compete, like lose by 12, 13 points, I mean, I doubt it, but who knows?
Listen, I didn't think Siena could give Duke a game yesterday, so we'll see. But I think Arizona is the most complete team. I don't have them winning, but I think they're the most complete team in this tournament. Outside shooting is probably their biggest weakness, but they're the most complete team, I think, in this tournament right now. So, again, there's some good, fun games today to check out. Let's pivot a little bit because you and I haven't had a chance to talk since the Tuesday finale of the WBC. The U.S. goes down to Venezuela. We talked about a lot of the stuff that went on in this tournament. We talked about players coming and going and commitment. This game, Venezuela obviously had it's shocking to me to go to a stadium in the U.S. and it's 70-30 for the foreign country team. I mean, I know there's a lot of Latin American fans in the Miami area, but that stadium was it felt like 100%, not 70% in favor of Venezuela. And they were pumped up and you've talked about it a lot, more than I have, but they wanted it more than we did. And it's not just the players. The players want to win. They don't show this. It looks like the Latin American teams care more because they're more demonstrative, right? And that's the culture and things that we try to tamper down in Major League Baseball. But the problem for the U.S. to me is the fact that the MLB organization has so much control. The manager has really little say. Mason Miller has got to be pitching in the 9th inning, not the kid for Whitlock from the Red Sox. Once they tie that game, Mason Miller's got to be in there in the 9th inning, not Garrett Whitlock.
Yeah, I just dealing with Major League Baseball. I mean, the Tigers are saying, well, you can't use our guy. Oh, you could only use our guy if you have a 1-run lead in the last inning to come in a safe situation. The whole thing's a turn up. Look, the Venezuela players didn't want to win any more than the USA players. The players on the team wanted to win.
I agree.
Don't get me wrong, but it's the usage of players, how much you could use them. Even starting pitchers, they have a pitch count limit on them. I mean, come on. If you know you're going to be in the World Baseball Classic, you're ready for these games, and it's close to the beginning of the regular season anyway.
Yeah.
And just the whole attitudes with Major League Baseball and all.
And it's not just USA, by the way. I mean, they're controlling. I mean, they talked about Tuesday night. They were talking about the manager from Venezuela had to deal with 5 or 6 different MLB organizations that morning to figure out how he could use his bullpen. That's just ridiculous. I mean, that's crazy.
The only time I think it could have a controversial effect if you allow teams to use pitches unlimited, if it's a manager of one team that's a rival of a manager of the other team, he might use his pitcher less and use an opposing team's pitcher more. I can understand that being some type of controversy, but listen, you have to know who you're dealing with. The managers are going to be responsible. You have a responsible manager over there. He's not going to abuse players. It's what you have to do. Listen, in the regular World Series, the Dodgers used Yamamoto on really virtually no rest in the final game because everything was on the line. You have to play the World Baseball Classic the same way. And if the pitcher's arm is tired, he should be able to tell the manager, look, I pitched a couple of days ago. I'd rather not be in today. If he wants to talk to his agent and tell the manager that quietly, so be it. But I just don't like the semblance of control that these teams have. But congratulations to Venezuela. Say what you want, usage this, usage that. The bottom line is the USA didn't hit. Aaron Judge is my favorite player, but he was horrible this last game. I'm not going to make excuses, but he was awful in a big spot this last game. Listen, the narrative that he doesn't hit in the clutch and big spots, statistically speaking, that's not true, statistically speaking. But look, there's the naked eye test. He was awful in this game, as were the majority of his teammates.
They were, listen, there were some positives. Look do I think and people are looking at this like it's some disaster that the USA wins. There's great players all over Latin America for sure. And the teams in Europe, Italy, look what Italy did. One of the great stories of this tournament, getting into the semifinals, the teams are getting better, and look at they're getting better players and better support for these programs. USA should not. I took a couple of really positive things away. I love what Nolan McLean did in pitching in that last game. He showed a lot of moxie, made a couple of mistakes with 2-run home runs, but the pitch against these lineups, I thought he's one of the great up and coming pitchers. I love seeing Bobby Witt on this stage, and you got to see up close how really good Bobby Witt is with the bat, with the glove. He makes some tremendous defensive plays with his feet. He can beat you 100 ways, that kid.
Bobby Witt's one of the best players in the game.
Top three. He's top three. To me, it's Judge, Ohtani, and Witt are the best three players in baseball.
You can make that argument if you want.
You saw some kids step up a little bit. Roman Anthony played pretty well, I think, at times. And there's, it's fun to watch these guys play. And this is probably the best team that they put out there.
Well, you were hoping at the end when the USA was 1 run down in the 9th inning with Gunnar Henderson and then Roman hitting, they would, maybe rally, do something. But it's what it is. Congratulations to Venezuela. It meant so much to them, good for them. It maybe meant more for their country than it would have meant for the USA. I don't know.
And I get Danny's point that there's stuff in contracts and teams have a lot of money invested in these guys, but then don't send them. If you're not going to let them go and play unhindered, then don't let them go at all. That's my opinion. I'd rather see lesser players go who can give everything they have and not have any restrictions from MLB teams.
Well, there's no restrictions on minutes in basketball, the Olympics or whatever. There's no restrictions in hockey from what I could tell. And then soccer, is there any restrictions on World Cup play?
Hockey's a great point because they're playing in the middle of the hockey season, right? And they don't want their players to go over there and get hurt in the middle of the season, but they don't put restrictions on anybody. And guys are getting punched in the face, losing teeth, getting hurt. God, it just ticks me off. But anyway, congratulations to Venezuela. Played great. Their pitching was tremendous. A lot of excitement on that team, and it was good to see. And here's the other thing, too. When we talk about countries caring more, look at this. Look at the guys that come out to watch and participate. Miguel Cabrera, a big part of that coaching staff, right? I don't see the big stars coming out for here on the U.S. side and supporting them. Where's Ken Griffey Jr.? Where's Jeter's working? But
we didn't see the celebrities. I mean, did we see a bunch of celebrities coming to the game for the USA?
Don't see any.
There you go.
If you went, you would have been the biggest celebrity there. So that tells you how many celebrities are there.
I actually went a few years ago to a World Baseball Classic game in Miami in the early round. Venezuela beat Israel. I wish I'd seen Venezuela this time around. So I could have said I saw the champions.
Great job for them. Their first victory in this. Well done. Before we wrap it up, I want to say kudos. Luka goes for 60 yesterday against Miami. Lakers all of a sudden have won 8 in a row in the West. Are we underrating the Lakers, or is this just a mirage?
Well, Luka's been playing defense lately. He took a ton of shots. Listen, kudos to LeBron. He's made something like 22 of his last 23 field goal attempts, and he had triple-double yesterday, pulled down 15 rebounds, but he was overshadowed by Luka's 60 points.
I think I think LeBron is slowly coming to the realization that he's the third best player in that team, and he's deferring more to Luka and Austin Reeves, I think, and starting to realize he can minimize his minutes and maximize his
listen, the push comes to shove. You still have to put him a little ahead of Austin Reeves if push comes to shove. And LeBron has to turn it up a notch. I trust him to turn it up a notch a little more than Austin Reeves at this point, just a teeny bit more. Yeah. I mean, LeBron is an excellent player now. He's really, really good the way he is now. We're just comparing him to what he used to be.
I think he's slowly coming to the realization, though, that he doesn't need to be the man every night.
Yeah.
And, I think that's going to benefit the Lakers and benefit whoever he plays for next year if he's got that attitude. He might play a few more years. So, anyway, good job. Good morning, CA. Good to have you with us, Jack. By the way, kudos to Jack real quick before we wrap it up. Jack's book is out, Michael Jinks Spinks. Hold up the copy. We'll be talking more about this as we go.
Michael Jinks Spinks. You could go to the websites of Amazon or Barnes & Noble to purchase it if you want. It's a really great, great book. I mean, I wrote it. What am I going to say? It's not. So on. You can get it in paperback or hardcover, whatever. No, don't get it at all if you don't want it. It's okay. But
get the book. Don't listen.
I'm proud of this work. We're going to have Michael Spinks as a guest on Glove Fist Monday night Eastern time. He's scheduled to come on. I hope Michael picks up the phone and hits the link at the time. I got to chase after him at times, but he's a great guy.
Well, congratulations on getting this out. I'm looking forward to my copy coming today or tomorrow and dive into that. And guys, I've got a link up to the Amazon page where you can buy it. And I'll continue to share that on my pages because we want Jack to make a lot of money so that he stops asking me
for money. No, money's secondary here. That's because you're nothing.
That's because we're paying you so much for this show. You don't need the money.
I mean, it's I'm well. I'm good. I'm not hurting, but it's a legacy thing to me. This book to actually write it. And it's an authorized biography. Biography, meaning Michael Spinks worked closely with me on it.
In all sincerity, congratulations, Jack. And I look forward to diving into it, hopefully this weekend as I watch some NCAA basketball. So
you won't have a minute to read it, Keith, with the games going on. Thank you, Danny, around the clock. Come on.
Listen, for a 66-year-old man, I can multitask pretty well still, I can tell you right now. But my wife would disagree. Jack, great job today. Congratulations on the book. Guys, we'll see you. Jack will see you tomorrow morning with the debate show, which will debate whether the good book is good or bad, I guess, since he won't give us
that's a good question there. Yeah.
So, in any event, check Jack out tomorrow morning with Brian and James, and I'll see you guys Sunday morning. I'll see you this afternoon with the MLB update, and then Sunday morning with the Stream of Consciousness. Guys, have a great weekend. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.